Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie.
Attention, all true believers. Marvel Comics is on the air.
A friend of the unfortunate, enemy of criminals. In reality, Dan Garrett, a rookie patrolman, loved by everyone but suspected by none of being the Blue Beetle.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality. Faster than an airplane, more powerful than a locomotive, impervious to bullets.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Minute to Skim It. Kyle's got a sassy face on.
I'm confused by something, and I'm trying to figure it out very quickly.
Excellent. Hey, good news. We went live to Facebook with no glitch. Makes me very happy.
But
everyone's having a great day today. I see Triple B and Barlord are on already. Thanks, guys.
I messed up when I built the room.
Oh.
I didn't add Space Cadets, so now we're live on Space Cadets too.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I already sure.
Like, wait, something doesn't look right, and that's what was confusing me. I'm like, wait, something doesn't look right. What doesn't look right? What is wrong? Something is wrong.
So hey, I'm taking off tomorrow because I'm going to go on the very first San Diego Comic-Con cruise, and hope to, if there are variants, exclusives, whatever, bring them back with me for you guys. So we'll see how that works.
Sorry. All those weeks you're having trouble with the EXP's Facebook feed?
Yes.
Space Cadets was good. This week we go live on the EXP, right? And Space Cadets is fighting us.
That's okay. I shared a Space Cadet, so it's already popping up there anyway.
No, I understand. It's just funny ha-has. So, hey, just as an aside, did you email Nick and Ford about tomorrow night's meeting and said that you weren't going to be there?
Did I email you back? I don't know.
Did you email us to reschedule tomorrow night's meeting?
No.
All right. Well, then. All right. Huh. Seems like
you guys can continue on without me. I'm sure that
that isn't going to work.
Be made.
That isn't going to work. You know we'll fight if you're not there. Anyway, but let's review comics where people fight because Miss Jen is not there. And I read several
where
they would benefit from Miss Jen being there to at least keep the ADHD in check in their personal meetings. Okay? Like this one.
Nice.
Oh boy. Do you guys know about the English Museum or the British Museum? How it's a museum of stuff that they stole from places that they tried to conquer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this book's about that.
Oh.
Except that it's kind of not. This is a story of this sort of. I'm still trying to figure out how the characters are related, but there are three characters that all grew up in West Africa, in Nigeria, and we're 15 years. Like we see flashbacks to them growing up, being teenagers, and in this book we're 15 years in the future, and their father, grandfather, their patriarch of their family has passed, but he was a world-renowned artist from the area, and his collection is on display, but it's going on display at the English Museum or the British Museum, and that's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so legally not George Clooney, legally not Brad Pitt, legally not Bernie Mac, legally not Matt Damon, legally not Don Cheadle, No, this is a cultural appropriation meets heist movie in a comic book.
Like a heist.
It is a good heist. But I think there are also some, like, I don't want to say supernatural because that doesn't feel right, but some maybe mythological elements to this that just because I am not well versed in the mythology of, African mythology, like I know the mythology of a certain African character that we're not going to talk about because of the person who made me aware of it and them being problem. Anyway, we are not going to talk about a book that Dark Horse is not going to finish putting out. But that kind of feels like this has an element here. Here's the thing I will say, guys. It's the first week of Black History Month. This is a book that deals with a very prevalent part of what has happened to Black history throughout culture, and maybe has a little bit of a fantasy element to it, like both revenge and actually mythological fantasy that I really enjoy. I think it's really well put together. Read it slowly. Do not do what we do for this show and try to read a bunch of books in a hurry with this one. Take your time, digest it, because I know for a fact there are elements and there are things in this book that I missed by trying to get through it in a timely manner. Really just take your time and enjoy it. Because I think I'll tell you, I'll put it this way. I'm very anxious to talk to Imani about this. Like, I'm really tempted to be like, you want to get coffee tomorrow and just talk about Brown's Faces? And kind of see what his take on it was, because I'm going to reread it again tonight. This was the best book of the week, if not for a book that I have been reading and been in love with for several issues now. I think this would be absolutely the best book of the week. Otherwise, it's tied for number one for me. This was just so good. And again, you love a good heist.
Hey, Mr. Nope. Wanted to say hi.
Real quick, hey, Triple B and Nope, be looking for an email from me in the next 24 hours. Well, not in the next 24 hours, the next couple of hours.
Getting direct emails. Crazy. Yeah. Cool. You guys are part of the in crowd.
I want to try and do something tomorrow with Kyle and Jay's Q&A. And I meant to email those guys like 3 days ago. And I just realized, oh crap, I never did that.
That is the problem when you like think I'm going to do a thing. And then you move past that in your brain to the planning of the thing.
Well, and then you get a call from Adam Freeman and from Rich Davis and from, and you spend 6.5 hours on the phone on a Monday.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, there are 2 books this week which are heavy into Luke Cage. This one is one of them. So remember, the Ultimates doesn't take place in our normal universe. So everything else is kind of like building up a character in order to fit the coolness that is the Ultimate universe that Hickman's been putting together. So there are only really 2 main characters for this one. You've got Iron Lad, which is up there. That's Tony's son, who's part of that universe. And you've got Luke Cage, who the way they laid the book out is really, really creative. So you get to see, I made a joke about this the other day, and it feels like it's true. Like, most books that have Luke Cage in them have him in prison. And I don't know why that is, but he's real good at maneuvering all of that space. This one kind of feels like he really makes it his own. So this one actually kind of takes this character, this version of it, and shows that he actually went to jail back when he was a young man. And in their universe, it feels like the ruling whatever is very odd. It basically says to him, you're in here for 1 to 25 years. It's a really big spread, and there's no real clear way. They just say if you behave or whatever, you might get out as soon as 1 year. But the problem is that they pick on him the entire time. Like, they just show up. He's reading a book. They just show up and beat the snot out of him. And so it's really hard to have a good prison record if they just decide they're going to beat you. So this is kind of neat. It jumps back and forth between him in prison at a younger age and much later in life. So it's kind of like a boom, boom, this year. And it kind of like coalesces into a really cool story. And at some point, you've got Iron Lad there show up and imbue him with his powers, which I did not know he didn't already have at the beginning. So it seems like he's just a normal-ish guy at the beginning. But then in this origin story, this is how we get him. And it's so interesting because at the very beginning of the book, it lays out all the characters that are part of the Ultimates universe or the team. He's not listed in there, but this entire book is really giving him his own story. You don't like this cover at all? Too much prison bars? It might not be your favorite. I'm sure there's some other ones out there. Go for the B cover, triple B.
See, I kind of like it because I like negative space, but like I knew exactly what this was before we got into it just because of the negative space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't have a lot of great things to say about Cruel Kingdom, the first issue. And I don't have a lot of great things to say about Cruel Kingdom, the second issue. I wanted to give it an opportunity because I love EC and I love what Oni is doing with EC.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I will say. The second story in this 3-story book is written by Steve Niles. And I would read Steve Niles writing paint drying.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of the story in this book, he very much does not write paint drying. You know, the first issue was all sort of sword and sorcery, Conan the Barbarian, kind of like, you know, you see it on the cover there, right? Man de la Mancha kind of knights and swords and stuff. That is not what happens in the second story of this book. The second story in this issue takes place in the northeast of the United States at a certain point of mass hysteria where if they dunk you underwater and you don't float, you're not a witch.
Ah. I gotcha.
Except that turns out maybe some of the witches weren't witches at all. They were something else that's a little scarier than witches.
Ooh.
So definitely check that out. That was, I'll be honest, in this book, that was the only story that really spoke to me in any kind of way. Because I'm not a fan of sword and sorcery. If you are a fan of sort of that prehistory or medieval, you know, horror with dragons and wizards and warlocks and what have yous, then every story in this book is for you. Like, understand that my qualm with this is not that it's not good. It's that it ain't for me. Can we get some more body horror, you know, demonic possession? Huh?
They have the other books for those.
Right. And they keep coming up on weeks when Jay is reading. So that's what I'm saying. The other EC stuff is totally more my vibe. This is great. It really is, but it's so much of the let me cast a spell and cast out these demons or whatever, you know, from this dragon's horde I stab at thee. Whatever. But when you get a witch hunt, I'm in.
I love how your voice is an old man saying, "Get off my lawn."
No, my old man voice. Hey, you kids, get off my lawn.
Now, I'd sign up for that because I loved God Country and I like seeing old men kick butt. So I'd read that all day.
Yeah.
Okay. We've pretty much gotten rid of all of the Marvel Star Wars line except for Ewoks, and there's one other one that's running, and then they've got that cool Inquisition storyline that just finished up, and then they just finished up that really long subtitled one that was going across a couple titles. So now they're going to give us some cool new stuff. There's actually an advertisement in here for another title which looks really cool. It includes Mace Windu Mace Windu, but it's like the whole entire page is like painted. It looks really cool, kind of like this front cover. So I don't know what that other one is about at all, but I'm glad. Thank you, Marvel, for pulling back a little bit, because I can't afford 20 Star Wars books a week. I can afford a few. And otherwise, I get them all confused in my brain. So this is cool. So this is the legacy of Vader. And the legacy in this case is his grandson, Kylo Ren. This takes place fairly soon after my brain serves me correctly, doesn't he kill Snoke? It's like he blames it on someone else in this book, but I think he did that. I could be wrong. But anyway, I have to go back and watch
Can
movies.
you kill that which was never actually alive to begin with?
Well, separates the top of his body from the bottom of his body by floating a lightsaber over.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, this is him kind of like delivering that body back to what exists of the power structure of the Empire and saying, now I'm the man. He's still carrying around his grandfather's like melted helmet, which that's a whole thing that he's trying to work his way through. But he's like really full on a brat in this one. He wants to kind of like show his strength, and he has to work through the power structure that already exists there. It's kind of interesting. I do like myself a bunch of Kylo Ren costume look. That part is really cool. But I'm really pissed off that we don't ever get to see. I much prefer to get to see the actual actor playing that part. I love me some Adam Driver. But no.
You mean Darth Mom Pants?
Stop it.
Okay. This book has officially lost the hinges.
No!
And I love it.
Okay, good.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Havana syndrome.
What is
it? I don't know that I'm smart enough to fully explain it. But basically, Havana syndrome is this thing that is believed to be possible. It's a psychological condition that is caused by imperceptible torture remotely. So it's named Havana syndrome because it was believed that during the whole Cuban Missile Crisis, American spies in Cuba were affected by subsonic or supersonic weaponry that caused them to go crazy, to have hallucinations, to have stuff happen. It is still believed that there are foreign entities that are using them to this day. And it wouldn't shock me one bit if there were. It seems like a very effective methodology if you're just asking. But if you can, well, it's why gaslighting works. If you can make somebody believe they're crazy, you can really kind of tear down a spy network, right? So there's the B story in this book has been that the president and her advisors are dealing with a Havana syndrome situation where it is believed that several of their allies' embassies have been attacked and several of their operatives overseas have been attacked using sonic devices to give them Havana syndrome. At the same time, we have the A story where the president's daughter is acting oddly, potentially, like demonically oddly. But it seems that the president and her husband believe that this is Havana syndrome, that she has been attacked because her symptoms mirror those of the operatives who have been attacked. The son, her brother, believes she is possessed because he played a prank at his Catholic school and may or may not have welcomed a demon into their realm. And in issue 2, the brother is starting to put his pieces together. Mom and dad are starting to put their pieces together, but they're going down different paths. In issue 3, we have a massive collision of these two different divergent theories. And that's what this book is it's what happens when brother has one theory, mom and dad have another. And what if they're both wrong? Because that guy that's on the cover there be pulling the strings on all of it. Yeah.
Sounds like good spook. I like this kind of spook. Smart spook.
Yeah, the last page of this book, this is not a spoiler because I'm not going to tell you what's in it. If I could buy the painting, the watercolor painting that is the last page of this book, I would probably sell one of the internal organs that I possess that still works to get that page. It is just gorgeously terrifying on every level. Just amazingly terrifying, but also so stunning that just unbelievable. This issue of this book was just the greatest. And then the political overtones of all of it, that despite the current political climate of the world we live in, are not at all realistic. Make it really nice because you can live in this world without it feeling like, all right, like I come here for escapism and you're not giving it to me. No, this is pretty escapey. So it works out all right. It has just enough realism to feel grounded, but not enough realism to feel like, why are you beating me over the head with the life I'm living? So this book is phenomenal. Shout out to IDW for this one. I was thinking about it. Out of my top 20 books of the last 6 months, 15 of them are Mad Cave, probably. And this one is probably top 2 or 3.
Celebrate all those indies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, here is my other Power Man. This is a pretty trippy book, honestly. I don't know what's going on for most of it. He's getting challenged by, for all intents and purposes, another godlike kind of creature. He's traveled through to, I'm guessing, another time based on the title there, and he is himself fairly godlike, and this other being shows up. He looks really cool, by the way. The character design of this guy is giant sword, has a really wickedly cool name, and suffers no fools, and really is just kind of like making his way through time, space, whatever, and cutting people with a sword and taking over. There is a panel in this book which is like insane. Just imagine what the most insane version of something that could happen to Power Man with a sword might be. It happens here. This actually kind of is cool because it crosses over into a place that might have a green door and a one above all for fans that like Immortal Hulk. So definitely enjoy it. I feel like I've been told that this stuff all ties back together in an important way for stuff that's going on in the Marvel universe. So if you missed this book, you're probably okay. But I thought it was definitely interesting enough to, especially like his interaction with the fact that some of the people on this cover are not around. And he attends their funeral, things like that. But he knows that it's not this person. So try to unravel that when he's talking. So this one's cool. There's not a lot of number ones for Marvel this week, so you might, if you want to just try something new, give this a chance. Hey, Eddie!
So anybody who was here will recall me saying that they could take Miss Fury out of this book and it would make me like this book better. I'm going to go ahead and retract that statement at this point. I still don't care about Miss Fury at all. Like, you could replace Miss Fury with any other femme fatale sort of pulpy hero, and this book would be the same. However, the value of that femme fatale kind of female anti-hero sort of yin to Green Hornet's yang, as it were, is super important, and it's kind of comes into fruition in this issue. So I get it now. This issue has a little bit more of the traditional Green Hornet sort of cop showiness to it, you know, where it almost feels like 60s Batman with some camp, but maybe a little bit darker and a little bit more violent. And in this issue, I would go ahead and equate Miss Fury to like a Batgirl type. I understand her importance now. I don't necessarily know that issue 2 is moving the story forward at the pace I would expect coming out of issue 1. Right? Like, it felt like this book was going to have the brakes fall off pretty fast and just be rolling down a hill coming out of issue 1. I don't know that that has so much happened here, but it may fall victim to issues 1 and 2 need to be one oversized issue of sort of explaining what this story is going to be, and then you continue, if that makes sense. But obviously that doesn't make publishing sense, so you split it up, you do 2 issues. So I'm going to go ahead and say issue 2 is issue 1B, and that it is a great continuation of issue 1, and it explains to me how this universe is going to exist. So shout out to this book for redeeming Miss Fury for me.
Okay. I'll catch you guys up a little bit. So it's Ghost Machine. So this stuff all exists in the same universe as Geiger and Red Coat and all those other great things.
Hyde Street,
right? It doesn't make any sense because Hyde Street's super terrifying. Why would this exist there? But if you find one of these cool books, actually has a timeline in it for where they fit in the linear time linear space, you're like, oh, okay. What's interesting about Rockefellers is that they exist in 2 different times because they had to run away. Sorry. They had to run away through time to avoid bad stuff. So they went from a future time back toward a more normal, like us time. They brought the robot dog. Don't get me wrong. The robot dog makes really great dinner. And he does in this one. So this is kind of like you get to see them doing their everyday work. Get to see them do like morning routine. Like, I don't know, the mom cuts a hole in like the ice and goes for a swim under the ice and then pops up in the same hole. And her neighbor's, borrowing her coat she's left there. It's pretty funny. So it's neat because it's all their like normal family stuff, but also it's not always going to be peaceful. You get kind of like random baddies that show up. This is a really good cover of what shows up in this one. But the thing that scares me the most, honestly, about this issue is that the dad, I can't remember where he got this thing. I think that it's probably genetic material from some person. I don't think it's grandpa. But so it's like an eye. So it's an eye. So when you see it for the first time, it is literally just a closed eye. But I don't know what he's doing to it. Talks about it a little bit in scientific terms, but it's looking, every time you see it, every single panel, it looks different. And you're like, what is this thing growing into? Is this going to become a full realized being? And what being is this thing? Right, Eddie? So I know that some people are not reading Rocket Fillers because they feel like it's aimed at the young crowd, and it's probably fine for the young crowd to read, but I don't think it's meant to be in the kids section, only read by kids. This one is really good. It's the same kind of mood and tone, honestly, as early Fantastic Four, where you have, if you watch the trailer, the teaser trailer today, kind of feels like that, but with less, 60s clothes. Ooh.
I really, really want to like this book.
Did you like the first one?
I did. I think issue 2 has made the fatal flaw of, as the kids say, they be out here doing too much. They added the Russians into the space mystery and drugs and assassins and all of this kind of stuff. And while all of that makes sense after issue 1, dropping it all in one issue in issue 2 is a little much. It got to the point where I couldn't tell what they were telling me based on what I already knew, right? There are too many loose threads threading at this point for my ADHD. I get it. You have a book that is an inherent bottle issue, right? It's not like you have a big giant open world to go explore where you can change locales or you can jump to other countries or other places. You're on the moon, and there are only so many inhabitable spaces on the moon. So you're kind of stuck. And it would be very hard in a situation like that not to come across and cross paths with, right, other elements of the story relatively quickly because of that, right? But I just felt like there were maybe too many of those things in just this second issue, especially because it's been like 6 or 8 weeks since the first issue. So I really do like the idea of a murder mystery with like this sort of renegade cop who doesn't play by the rules, kind of drinks too much coffee and smokes too many cigarettes and passes out on his keyboard, kind of character. And you guys know who I'm talking about, right? Like, you could see this guy in your head.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, for me, it's just Elliot Stabler.
Danny's getting you good.
It's definitely Elliot from Law and Order, but dressed like Chris Maloney's character from Happy. Like, just throwing that out there. Anyway, but there just becomes it becomes about too much. There's too much here to track too fast for me. So let's slow it down just a little bit coming into issue 3 and like start to kind of let us follow each thread a little further to kind of figure out how they're all related, because you can tell they're all related, but there's just too many of them to be able to keep track of how.
Mm-hmm. Jay, you got to pop that one up. That's a good one.
As I sit here and drink water.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Granted, there's caffeine in this, but
oh, you're a liar. Mine doesn't have anything. Mine's a fitness water.
It's microdose, but it's caffeine and electrolytes, man.
It's especially the part about falling asleep on the keyboard that gets me.
Jay, I have a laptop. I've never fallen asleep on my keyboard because my keyboard has lights in it.
Too much flashing.
I have fallen asleep with my hands on the keyboard, and I think sent Jay like 37 letter L's. So
perfect. I actually had people come last week and be like, Absolute Superman's out this week, right? Right. Give me some of that sweet Absolute Superman. It's very, very clear that Absolute Everything has got people all jonesing all the time for whatever the next issue is. And I get it. I am fully all about everything Absolute. It's interesting. I love it because I talk to different people, right? Every single person that comes in when I talk about Absolute has a different Absolute favorite. You would think everyone likes Batman the most, but it's not true. I've talked to plenty of people that say the Wonder Woman one's their favorite one or Superman's their favorite one. So I think it's really cool that they've captured the hearts of different people for different reasons. So, okay. Absolute Superman. This one, the issue is laid out so coolly. So I guess the Peacemakers, so remember we're in an absolute universe, so it's not the normal Peacemakers from our normal universe. The Peacemakers are out kind of trying to figure out where Superman is. They've had an interaction with him in the last issue, which means they need to capture him or find him, try to talk to him. But the way they've done it is in like a 9-panel page in which it's the person who's trying to find him off the screen. You only see their speech bubbles, but you'd see them who they're talking to. And it's people from all over the world basically saying, have you seen him? I really need to talk to him. Reasons, right? It's really cool. And then later on, it might even be the next page. I can't remember for sure. I think you turn the page and it's them saying things back for reasons why they can all kick rocks because they're not going to tell where Superman is. And most of them say they don't know. But yeah, no one gives them the finger, but it all feels like they're all saying that, which is kind of interesting. So he's garnered himself some kind of like loyal folks, even though I don't know that he's ever had like long time relationships with them, except for what they say that he like showed up when they needed him for even when it was like weird stuff. So anyway, so the most of this book, you don't get to see him. There's just, you've got both the, I forget what they're called. So the Mega Force, they're after them, and the Peacemakers. The leader of the Peacemakers clearly does not suffer fools because I guess there's one that's been bad, been like abusing their position. So she breaks his hand, which is kind of gruesome. Look away from that panel if you don't like to see people's hands broken. But yeah, you do get to see Superman show up at some point, and he shows off his powers. So you get to see even more of what he can do. And it's just so amazing. He's just like, I don't know what he can't do at this point, but he feels so much different than Superman from our universe enough to make you be like, this is cool. Way different. Jump in. Ooh, Exit City. We sound exactly alike. By the way, I don't know about you. I've been to the doctor. My doctor just says, here, have some antibiotics. Go forth and suck it up.
Mine is that I'm choking on my own existence. Okay. So, you know what I didn't read?
What?
Exit City issue 2.
Oh, so there's a skip in there. I mean, I was the same way for Rockefellers. I'm like, when who said it? Mr. Nope was talking about in issue 2. There was a big arc that ended in a kind of like a what's going to happen next for the eyeball. I was like, oh, if I had read that one, that would have probably explained many things.
Right. And that's kind of where I'm at with this. There are clearly some payoffs here that I do not understand. The thing that I like about Exit City is, one, Mark London is telling an incredibly complex story in my opinion, ridiculously easy to understand way.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
Right. There are a lot of things happening in this book. And I'm not sure I know what half of them are, which is making it fun, because every time I look at Exit City, I see something I missed before.
Mm-hmm.
So my review of this is, maybe don't jump in on issue 3.
Do you remember what happens in issue 1? Can you at least get us suckered into the concept?
Only vaguely. That's the problem, is that it's been so long since I jumped in, but you have a city that exists that is any post-apocalyptic dystopian city.
Okay. I like those.
Turned up to 11 and the knob broken off.
Mm.
But it also has some of that, like, Abbott or some of those, like, or you're not actually a detective, but you're a detective kind of detectiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what I don't remember, Jay, is it's one of those, is that I read them together, and I need to go back and reread them. But essentially it's a mystery story, but it's not solely a mystery story. There's more to it than that. And so I will say this for Exit City. If you haven't started reading it by now, get the trade. If you're like me and you have access to the trade already because Mad Cave is dope, download the trade and read it tomorrow. But yeah, this is one of those that I think would be better as a binge than as individual issues. But it's definitely there's drugs, there's murder, there's crime, there's cabal, magic, not necessarily magic, but there's like people who are acting in their own best interest but trying to make you think it's yours. Things like that just, it's all kind of coming together in a really interesting and unique way. And by the way, you see that Underworld logo on there?
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a thing.
Like a shared universe thing?
Yeah.
Ooh, I like shared universe stuff.
So be watching for that.
Okay. Some of you guys may have backed this Kickstarter yourself from Dirk Manning and Les. Oh, there's another word in the middle. Isn't it Les something Gardner, though? I always feel like
yeah, but like it's Les Gardner.
Yeah. And then Dave Letts, and they had a real Lakota advisor.
The third name on the fourth name across the top is Blackhawk. It's Rao Blackhawk.
Yeah.
Who is their actual Lakota Sioux advisor.
Yeah.
Rao is a really great dude with a really great history, a really great handle on First Nations history. And like, again, I didn't read this book because Jen read it. But I will say this, Rao is a really interesting dude who's going through some really tough health stuff of late.
Oh, no.
So just, keep him in your thoughts. But he corrected a lot of mistakes in this book to make this book super accurate and super representative of what the First Nations actually believe.
Yeah, and it's the art is just gorgeous. I like I like heavy-handed inks, like really big lines, right? Or within, even like you can kind of see it here, where even within the figure there's really heavy blacks, and then it almost looks like it's overpainted with the colors. I don't know how that's achieved, but it's really, really cool. This will appeal to folks who have been, there's tons of shows on TV right now that take place in the Wild West. Old original settler, a lot of confrontation between the First Peoples and everybody else. More than one that I've watched recently is literally like the problem is that The native peoples know that once one person establishes themselves there, more people will come. But also, if they kick those people off, then more people will come to defend those people that got kicked off. So they're between a rock and a hard place. It's really hard to win. Now, in this one, there is kind of a win at the end. So that I like. But really, the whole story is about, it appears that a gentleman, he's gotten himself in some trouble, probably financially also, and has to sell all his land and leave. He has bought new land, not on Native people's territory, but adjacent, something that the government owns. And that he is leaving town with a woman and 2 children who you believe are his wife and children. But when he shows up, it's clear that's not true at all. But there's some complexities to that. So they move out to their land, and thus begins this kind of push between, he's promised this woman and her 2 children just to give them somewhere safe to live. Obviously from their previously abusive husband, right? So that's a promise he's made. The misunderstanding is the Lakota, who live next door, are really, really worried about what happens. So this is them, someone within the tribe, working with another tribal member to do something that probably is not 100% cool, and I'm not sure if they're truly making themselves into a wolf or just taking on the spirit of the wolf, but trying to remove the homesteaders with this transitioned body. It is a trade. It only has ever appeared in a trade, and it was a Kickstarter, so your local comic shop might have it if they supported the Kickstarter. I certainly have it. There's a regular trade paperback version. You might be able to get through Source Point. And there's a hardcover one that's got like a silver logo and a sketch book plate and a really cool pin. That's a special version of it. You might be able to find. Oh, I got my. But see, as this is not a new book releasing tomorrow, I can show you everything I want to, or I don't have to just talk to you about what the art looks like. I can actually show it to you.
So yeah, this is an original graphic novel. But hey, everybody, I am going to drop out and let Jen and Jay wrap up the show. Stay tuned for the shows that are coming up after us. In fact, I believe Les will be hosting the show that's on after us tonight.
No, that's why I did this book last.
So make sure you stick around for those things. We will see everybody tomorrow for Kyle and Jay's Q&A. I will talk to you guys next time. I'll let those guys wrap up the show.
Perfect. So anyway, this is so Dirk Manning is a good friend of mine, and I've never read a book that he's written that I don't like. So I'll always support his stuff, and I'm okay with you supporting him directly if you like. But I'll always have his merchandise available, and so will a lot of other local comic shops if you tell them that you're interested in it, because he always has a pretty dope tier for stores so they can carry it at a normal rate for the rack. This week feels like it's a little bit lighter release week than it has been, and that kind of feels good. We get a little bit of breathing room for titles, so you can go out and try something new. Do also remember that because of all the stuff that's happening at Diamond, your local comic shop might have their Diamond-related books, maybe not on the release date that they're supposed to be on. Don't worry. Just work with them to make sure they know that you're interested in a book. I did have an interesting situation today where someone asked me a book that was supposed to be releasing this week, which actually released in 2024. So I'm not sure if there is data corruption on what the internet is saying is coming out and when. So yeah, just know that maybe even not the websites for release dates might be correct anymore right now. It'll all suss itself out. Just know I've been talking to a lot of small press. They are working on plans for how to make sure that your local comic shop is still getting their books. It's just going to take a little transition period. For anybody that went through the 90s knows that the comic book industry is very robust. We can make it through just about anything. Also, if you are traveling, like Kyle likes to say, you can always use, at least for now, comicbook.com to figure out comicsshoplocator.com to find a store near you. If that resource is no longer available, one of us will figure out how to make it again. So don't worry. Thank you. I am excited because my friend Afua Richardson is going to be on the same cruise. And so I'll try to see and do all the stuff for you guys and take a bunch of pictures. And so I can tell you guys next week all about it. It's the first time they're doing it. They've also already on the site put up the tickets availability for the next one that's happening next year. So they said a January or February date again. So if you think to yourself, I can't make it all the way to San Diego, it's too expensive to have hotel and all those other things, you can do a cruise. It's not an inexpensive cruise, but it's definitely cheaper than a flight, hotel, and all those other things. Laura Kinney, #1 second printing cover by Linux comes out. That might be true. Yeah, that also brings up a good point. Make sure that you communicate with your local comic shop about variants that you might want, because on the day of release I will just be honest with you guys, too late. Because most of the time we've made a decision about what we're going to buy 3 weeks out. So we've put in all our numbers and whatever is going to be coming to us is actually headed toward us. So make sure you talk to them as soon as you've seen an image of a cover that you are interested in. Just let them know. Then they can at least have a hope of having it in the store on opening day for you for the new books. They love doing it. It's what they're there for. Yeah, cruises are awesome, especially for the food. This one's really cool because normally the amount of people that go to Comic-Con is something like 160,000 people. And I am certain that this boat does not fit 160,000 people. So it's going to be a lot less people and a lot more intimate ability to accidentally run into, famous folks. So you can look and see all the people that are supposed to be on the boat. I'm excited. So, all right, everybody, I am going to bid you guys adieu. Thank you so much for showing up for the show. Please forgive Kyle for needing to run away. Because Les is going to be on the next show for Wonderland, you guys need to make sure to show up for the next show and say hi to him. You can talk to him about the book. It's his book too. So he would think that was really cool if you guys asked him about it, because I know that creators often wonder, hey, does anybody like my book? They don't see anything. They make the book, they put the book out, they get asked to come to shows maybe or come to sign it at shops. But really, other than that, they don't have any kind of interaction for knowing if someone liked their stuff unless you post up about it or show up in a show and say, hey, I really dug it. So, and you can ask them questions that you had that I didn't address. All right, everybody, I will see you guys next week. I may or may not be slightly tanner, and I will not be see-through like I am right now. But I will certainly be able to say I've been the nerdiest this week. All right, everybody, I'll see you guys next time.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.